Welcome to Speak English with Tiffani. I am teacher Tiffani. Let's jump right in. The topical method. Let's get started with step number 1. So the first thing you want to do is select topics and organize questions. All right, so there are 3 different categories that you need to pay attention to, all right? The first category is life and people. The second category is your interests, and the third category is news and politics. So let's look at this in more detail, this section of part 1. All right, so life and people. What you want to do is pick 5 topics that deal with life and people in general. For example, family, work, friends, education, etc. Now, for your interest, what you want to do is think about all of your interests and pick 5 that mean the most to you. For example, your hobbies, your music, or exercise, etc. And finally, news and politics. Check out current newspapers and news programs. Then select 5 of the most common topics. All right, so let's look at an example of this. So what I've done is I've decided for life and people, I've chosen family, friendship, education, work, and health as the 5 topics for this category. Now for my interests, I've chosen exercise, art, music, reading, and travel. These are the 5 topics within this category. And finally, for news and politics, I've chosen elections, crime, weather, business, and war. Now remember, you can pick whichever topics within these 3 categories that you want to for this step, okay? So now what you're going to do after this is you have to pick one question related to the topic, okay? So as you're seeing right now, I have one question for each topic that falls underneath the category of life and people, all right? So for family, I have, what does it mean to be a family? Let's say for work, I have, what is a typical work day? Now, I've done the same for the next 2 categories. So for my interests, I've said for exercise, what are the benefits of exercise? And you'll see moving down for art, for music, for reading, and for travel, I've picked one question for each of these topics. And finally, for news and politics, I've chosen one question for each of the topics that are underneath this category, okay? So that's what you're doing for step 1 in the topical method. Now, step 2. Find audio or video about the questions. All right, so there are 3 different categories of audio or video that you can look at. Now, there are more, but these are ones that I want to give you examples of. So, for example, for audio, you have podcasts, or for visual or video, you have television programs or movies as well. And also you have YouTube. So, for this example, we're going to stick with these 3 types of audio or video, okay? What's going to happen is you'll notice again, we have the 3 categories for the video and audio right here. But what I've done is I've separated the different sections that we had for the categories. Let's close this right here. And for the questions related to the topics. Now, all of the questions that fall under life and people, we're going to look for podcasts related to the life and people section. Now, for your interests or our interest, we're going to use television programs. And for news and politics, we're going to try to find YouTube. Here we go. We're going to come back real quick. We're going to try to find YouTube videos related to these questions. Okay. All right. So as you'll see, they're changing. You don't have to stick with podcasts automatically for your interest. You can decide which one. However, you need to have one applied to the category, okay? All right, so again, you can choose which one goes with which category. All right, so remember to relax. Again, remember to relax and simply take the information in. Don't stress or write any notes. I'm going to highlight this. Don't stress and don't write any notes. When you're listening to the podcast or watching a television program or watching a YouTube video, it's important to remember this because this step focuses on your listening ability. All right, now let's move on to step number 3. Find one article about the topic. All right, so in this step, you will write the information related to the questions from each topic. So let's look at the blog first. Blog posts can be a good source of up-to-date information about various topics online. Now, books, on the other hand, are a good source of information about many topics, and they give you a variety of useful advanced English vocabulary, words, and terms. And magazines are actually useful because the magazine articles give you current and or popular information about many different topics. So let's look at this a little closer. So again, you're deciding which you want to use for which category. So again, which type of article style you want to use for which category. So again, I've chosen for the life and people category. Remember, I have my questions based on my topics here. I've chosen to find blog posts about this category. Now, what's key is when we come over to the blog post, all you're going to do is highlight the information that directly connects to the question, okay? What information in this blog post discusses family and what it means to be a family. Now, if we move on to books, the same idea. Again, we have our category and we have the questions based on the topic, and we're going to find book pages or books about those questions. Again, moving over here, when we come to the book page, our question is right here. What are the benefits of exercise? So on the page of the book, we find every piece of information that talks about the benefits of exercise, and we just write it down. The same is true for magazines. Again, the category right here, the questions based on the topics, we're going to find magazine articles based on that topic, and the piece of information inside the magazine article that relate to the actual question. Okay? Now, this again, you can switch whichever blog, book, or magazine, whichever one you want to use for whichever category you want to use. It's up to you. Okay? This is for your reading comprehension. This will help with your reading with English. Okay? All right. Number 4. Find another article about the topic. Now, please pay attention. It's very important right now, okay? So I've chosen for the blog post to be associated with my interests. I've chosen for the books to be associated with news and politics. And I've chosen the magazine articles to be associated with life and people. Now, this is what's going to happen. For each of the articles that answer each of the questions, this is what I want to do right here. I'm going to pick 5 to 10 difficult sentences from the actual article, okay? Now, after I have those sentences, I'm going to search for the words and the terms that I don't know. Then what you want to do after that, again, I'm saying me, but it's also you, underline the patterns, okay? The patterns that you recognize within the sentence. Then you're going to memorize the sentence, and then you're going to practice saying the sentences. This step is so important. So what's happening is you are working on your grammar. By looking at the articles and doing these steps, you're working on your grammar. All right, step number 5. Find one more article about the topic. All right, so this is a very simple step. What's going to happen is you are literally going to read the articles 3 times out loud. That means you need to actually vocalize what you are reading, okay? So you're going to be saying out loud whatever you see on the page that you are reading, okay? It's very important to do this, okay? You're going to read it out loud 3 times. Now, this actually helps with your speaking. You get pronunciation practice. You will also become used to the patterns, so your speaking will naturally improve. Now, the next thing is step 6. Write about the topic. You see, what's happening is you have actually given your brain so much information about the topic prior to writing that when you start writing, it's going to be easier for you. Okay, so again, what do we have? We have life and people. We have the questions related to this category, your interests, the questions right here, and also news and politics. Now, each question is actually going to get its own essay or its own writing to answer the question or the topic, okay? All right, so let's actually look at how do you write about the topic or answer the question. Now, again, in the top right of the screen, I've linked to my actual English video lesson that talks about how to write an essay in English and how to improve your writing skills. So if you need help, click that in the top right corner of your screen. But what you'll notice right here, introduction, body, and conclusion, okay? So we have right here, general explanation, your opinion, and your 3 supports. Then in the body, we get into more details about each of the supports. And also in the conclusion, you restate, you summarize, and you write your final statement, okay? This is going to happen for each question from each topic, okay? All right, now this actually covers your writing. So what's happened is you've actually, using the topical method, you've covered English listening, English reading, English grammar, speaking, and writing. And that's why this is the best method, the best way to study English for the intermediate and advanced English learner. Now, I hope you enjoyed this English video lesson, and I hope that you check out the next English video lessons on the left and the right of your screen. And as always, remember to speak English.